The malpractice insurance market uses a lot of acronyms, confusing terms, and other lingo that can be hard to understand if you're not an industry insider. One of the items that doctors frequently stumble over is the concept of retroactive coverage. So what exactly is it? What is a policy retroactive date? And why do you need to know about it? In today's episode, we're going to explain what a malpractice policy retroactive date is, where you can find yours, and why it's important. Welcome to Malpractice Insights, the show dedicated to helping healthcare professionals understand medical malpractice insurance and providing you with the solutions you need so that you can get back to the work of practicing good medicine. My name is Jennifer Wiggins, CEO of Aegis Malpractice Solutions, and I'm so glad you've joined us today. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. We release a new episode every week, both on YouTube and your favorite podcast streaming platform, so be sure to like and subscribe to stay connected. All right, let's jump in. In order to understand how retroactive coverage works, we need to set the stage by taking a quick step back to explain the two types of malpractice insurance: occurrence and claims made. If you have an occurrence policy, your malpractice coverage is triggered based on when the incident actually occurred. If you have a claims-made policy, your malpractice coverage is triggered based on when the claim is made against you. So let's unpack it a little, starting with the occurrence policy. If you have an occurrence policy, the coverage triggers based on the date when the incident actually occurred, regardless of when the claim is filed against the provider. So, if a doctor treats a patient on January 1st, 2022, but the claim isn't filed for 3 more years, the triggering date is the date when the incident happened, which in this example would be January 1st, 2022. So as long as the doctor had insurance in place at the time of that incident, then he'll have coverage. So here's what this looks like in a practical example. A doctor will buy an occurrence policy on the very first day that he needs insurance, and then he'll renew that policy every year until the time comes when he needs to cancel. After he cancels the insurance, then he can actually just walk away. There's nothing else required at the end of an occurrence policy, meaning no tail insurance. He simply moves on. Those occurrence policies will stay active and in force with the insurance carrier that he bought them from. So if a claim is ever made against him for a patient that he treated during the years when he was insured on the occurrence policy, then those policies are available for him to access for coverage. Now let's look at the other type of insurance, claims-made coverage. Claims-made coverage triggers based on when the claim is made against the provider. As long as the incident occurred during the coverage period and an active policy is still in place, the doctor will be covered for the incident. So here's what that would look like. A doctor will buy a claims-made policy on day 1 and then renew the coverage every year until the time when he needs to cancel. But once he cancels the insurance, he's not done. A claims-made policy is really 2 policies in one. You have to carry the insurance while you're actively practicing, and then after you cancel, you have to get a second policy. This is called tail insurance. Your tail starts at your cancellation date and then extends your coverage into the future for any claims that may be made against you after you've already walked away from that policy. So why does a doctor need tail insurance? Because he must have an active insurance policy in place in order for him to be covered for a claim made against him, even if it's years down the road. So when a doctor buys tail, he has an active policy that will cover him into the future for any claims that may still be made against him for services that he rendered in the past. Now, here's where the retroactive date comes in. A retroactive date starts off as the inception date of that claims-made policy. So if a doctor buys a claims-made malpractice insurance policy for the very first time on July 1st, 2022, then the retroactive date for his insurance policy is July 1st, 2022. As he renews that insurance policy year over year, the retroactive date stays the same, even though the policy period is moving forward. So at his policy renewal, the new coverage period will be July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024, with a retroactive date still of July 1st, 2022. And at the next renewal, the coverage period moves on to July 1st, 2024 to July 1st, 2025, with a retroactive date still back to July 1st, 2022. Okay, so what exactly does that mean? It means that the insurance policy will cover the provider for any claims made against him in the current active policy period for services that he rendered or patients that he treated all the way back to that initial retroactive date. As the provider continues to renew his malpractice coverage year over year, the retroactive date will remain the same. So, what happens if a doctor wants to change insurance carriers? Even if he switches insurance carriers, the provider can request that the new company continue this uninterrupted protection by requesting a claims-made policy that includes prior acts coverage. When he switches to the new insurance carrier, they will use this same retroactive date on their policy, and then the new carrier will then be responsible for any claims made against you going forward for the services rendered all the way back to that initial retroactive date. When a doctor finally cancels his claims-made insurance policy, then he must obtain tail. Tail insurance is a one-time purchase. It will cost you approximately 1.5 to 2 times the price of your last insurance premium. You'll secure it within 30 days of canceling your coverage, and then the carrier will issue you an endorsement that shows your policy limits and the dates of coverage. The dates of coverage on your tail insurance will be from your retroactive date to your cancellation date. This policy will cover you into the future for any claims that may still be made against you for services that you rendered during that covered period of time. If you buy tail insurance and then you decide you want to start over with a brand new claims-made policy again, guess what? You're going to have a new retroactive date. This will be the inception date of your new policy. Claims made is the only policy type that has a retroactive date. Occurrence policies don't have a retroactive date. All right, this concept can be a little tricky, so I hope you're still tracking with me. 2 more things for us to talk about today, and that's pricing and the all-important question of how to find your retroactive date. So first, let's talk about pricing. Your retroactive date will dictate your malpractice premium as well. Claims-made prices are based on the number of years of retroactive coverage that you have. So, for your first year of coverage, which is often called retro date inception, or sometimes the company will call it RDI, you're going to pay the lowest price. Why? Because the carrier isn't covering very much. There's no prior activity for them to insure. It's a brand new policy. So your rate for your first year of claims made will be low. But for every year that you renew your coverage, the price will go up little by little because the exposure to the carrier is increasing more and more. So for example, if you're a plastic surgeon in Springfield, Missouri, you might pay $7,000 for your first year of claims made coverage, and then $14,000 for your second year, $18,000 for your third year, $20,000 for your fourth year, and $23,000 for your fifth year on. After 5 years, the price is going to be considered mature, and you'll essentially pay the same price every year after that. Don't worry, your price doesn't go up forever. But it is important for doctors to understand how these claims-made premiums step up in price every year, because sometimes a doctor will get their renewal bill and they'll see the next step in price and they think the carrier is raising their rates for no good reason. So when you get a claims-made insurance quote, be sure to ask your agent for the rates for years 1 through 5 so that you know what to expect as your premium gradually steps up towards that final price. If you're interested in seeing how claims-made premiums compare to occurrence premiums, or if you would just like some more information on the difference between these two policy types, be sure to check out episode 4 of Malpractice Insights. We'll link to it here on the screen here on YouTube and also drop a link in the show notes. I think you'll find that episode really helpful. So finally, where do you find your retroactive date? If you look at your certificate of insurance, you'll see the dates of your coverage, your policy limits, and other details of your insurance policy. You'll also see a section that lists your retroactive date. If you don't have a retroactive date listed, double check your policy type. You might have an occurrence policy, which again, doesn't have a retroactive date. If you look at your policy declaration page, you should see the retroactive date listed clearly as well. It's important for you to know what your retroactive date is, or at least understand the concept of retroactive coverage in order to ensure that you're protected into the future for any claims that may be made against you for your prior acts. If you have any questions on this topic, or you want to make sure that you're covered appropriately, click the link in the description box below where you can connect with us via phone, email, or chat today. And if you're listening, please visit us online at aegismalpractice.com. That's AEGIS malpractice.com. We have some great episodes lined up for you in the next few weeks. I hope you found this one helpful. If so, could you do me a favor and give us a like and leave a review? And be sure to subscribe to our show so that you can catch our next installment of Malpractice Insights, where we're dedicated to helping you understand medical malpractice insurance and providing you with the solutions you need so that you can get back to the work of practicing good medicine. This is Jennifer Wiggins. Thanks for joining us.